Hello everyone, my name is Aaron, or Flashes, and today we're going to prove once and for all who's faster, Gauss or Volt. Now, if you're really into speedsters in fiction, then you'll understand why I'm even making this video. I mean, who really cares about which frame can run faster when we have Titania who can move at Mach 3, or Grendel who is literally Sisyphus' boulder if you let go of it. Sorry, got sidetracked, but really, this is an extremely important issue, and the reason why is because it's fucking cool. Now that everyone has a comprehensive understanding as to why this is important, let's get into it. Back in the earlier days of this game, Volt was undeniably the speed king. There wasn't a frame who could move faster without abusing glitches, let alone run faster. But with the addition of Gauss into the game, Volt's crown was stolen from him before he could even realize his head felt lighter. With Gauss's update, he was introduced as a speedster of Warframe. From his ability set to the trailers, it was clear that DE had an agenda when they made this frame. That's right, they wanted to indirectly reduce Volt's player percentage, but it wouldn't be right just to nerf him, so they needed to think outside of the box. Many of the people who play Volt outside of using him for Eidolon are for his speedster attributes, which are cool. And so by making a brand new speedster with ability names like Mach Crush and Redline, they kidnapped many Volt loyalists and mind-washed them into playing Gauss. But I was not swayed by this shallow ploy. No, I stayed strong. And here, in this video, I'm going to end this outrageous debate and prove once and for all that Volt is undeniably the speed king of Warframe. First of all, base Volt is unfortunately slower than base Gauss, so without modding, it is true that Gauss is faster. But what is Warframe without modding? Exactly. But before we can rice the fuck out of Volt, we gotta understand the fundamentals of where their speed comes from. Volt's second ability, literally called speed, applies a multiplier to Volt's overall movement speed. This ability scales with ability strength, and as you may know, there are a lot of mods that increase ability strength. Gauss, on the other hand, already has a higher sprint speed stat, and what his Mach Rush does is essentially instantly increase his stat by some percentage and add some cool effects to make him seem to move even faster than he is. Don't fall for it, people, it's just eye candy. Real veterans know that the only indicator of speed in this game is the falling sound. So let's put an end to this rivalry. I'll make my fully modded Volt defeat a fully modded speed Gauss. So Gauss's Mach Rush doesn't actually scale with strength, at least not for the speed aspect of it. And the equation for calculating the speed of his Mach Rush is given by the following. His rush speed is given by 25 plus 6 times 1.25 times by his base sprint speed multiplier times by, and this is all in brackets, 1 plus sprint speed bonuses times by the 1 plus movement speed bonuses minus 1. That's a lot, right? So let's actually break this down. So the 25 at the beginning, that's just a flat increase that's from Mach Rush. It just gives it to him instantly. There's no building up to that. And the 6 times 1.25 is actually just the movement speed of any Warframe. All Warframes walk at 6 meters per second, and they all sprint at 25% more than that. So you just multiply with 1.25 and you get 7.5 meters per second is what any Warframe would sprint at. But this changes according to this sprint speed stat over here. So as you can see for Gauss, or at least Gauss Prime, his sprint speed multiplier stat is already at 1.5. Most frames it's only at 1, so they actually do just run at 7.5 meters per second. But Gauss has 1.5. And what's going to happen in the equation is his 7.5 meters per second is going to get multiplied with whatever this value is. Then all of this gets multiplied with the bonuses subtracted by 1. So what do I mean? Well, sprint speed bonuses are stuff like infested mobility, which gives you a buff to your speed, and movement speed is like, there's a lot of mods that do that, but we're not going to actually be looking at that since it's not useful to us. So clearly, modding his base sprint speed as high as possible is the most impactful thing to do. And afterwards, we can use things like infested mobility, which falls under the sprint speed bonuses category, to give him some more additional power. But don't get me wrong, it's not the case that ability strength doesn't assist Gauss at all, since the sprint speed bonuses and movement speed bonuses scale with strength, and we still want Gauss's strength to be high as well. Ultimately, there's a sweet spot where a combination of these two statistics, his sprint speed and power strength, will produce the fastest total speed. So there are quite a few Warframe mods which affect sprint speed, but we're only going to be using the ones which don't require a process to activate. Firstly, we use Rush in our Exilus slot and Sprint Boost for the Aura, along with Amar's Anguish and Armored Agility for a total of plus 75% sprint speed. This brings Gauss's sprint speed multiplier to a whopping 2.62. which is which is already pretty crazy. For movement speed, the mods are more for increasing movement speed while aiming, but there's also Dispatch Overdrive, which can grant plus 60% movement speed, but I'm not including any of these mods because, well, we're not going to be aiming while we're running, right? And also because Dispatch Overdrive requires a process to activate. So what else can we do for Gauss? Well, we can use Blind Rage and Augur Secrets to increase his ability strength, and this is going to give us plus 123% ability strength, as you can see here. But you may have noticed I'm also using Precision Intensify. So this only works because I've infused Infested Mobility into Gauss's 4th ability slot, since Precision Intensify only affects the 4th ability slot. And since, for Gauss anyways, ability strength is only going to be affecting this ability here, this makes sense, right? That's why I can just get an additional plus 90% ability strength. So in total, our Infested Mobility will give Gauss a 1.87 times multiplicative bonus. All that's left to do is try to increase our duration and efficiency. I've opted on focusing on increasing duration with narrow-minded and primed continuity. But I've also added Streamline to reduce Mark Rush's drain a little bit. So let's quickly take a look at this Gauss. Well, that was impressive, but don't lose hope, soldiers. We can defeat this abomination. Now that we have something to compare to, I've calculated the actual speed at which this Gauss is going. This is going to be 61.75 meters per second. That's not a joke. To give some perspective, a base frame literally sprints at 7.5 meters per second. So this is going to be a challenge. So let's start building our speed vault. Vault's second ability, as I've mentioned, is simply a buff. So unlike Mach Rush, which has some special properties, Vault's speed solely increases the maximum speed at which he can run at. So he doesn't instantly propel himself forward like Gauss does, but he has to gradually build up speed to that maximum. So the equation for his max speed is given by his max speed equals to 6 times 1.25 times by his base sprint speed multiplier times by the bonus he gets from using the speed ability times by any sprint speed bonuses times by any movement speed bonuses minus 1. Whew, that was a lot, right? So as you can see, Vault has 3 stats that are multiplicative of each other. These are his modded sprint speed multiplier, the bonus he gets from using speed, and any sprint speed bonuses. So in our case, Infested Mobility. So first I added Blind Rage, Transient Fortitude, Intensify, and Augur Secrets to increase Vault's ability strength to really capitalize on the buff ability. So with these mods, our ability strength is 308%, which will impact both speed and Infested Mobility. Speed's multiplier becomes a huge 3.31x, and Infested Mobility's multiplier reaches 1.84x. Next was to increase his sprint speed. So to do this, just like with Gauss, I've added Rush in the Exit slot and Sprint Boost as the aura. We also have Amar's Anguish and Armored Agility to give us a total of 1.75 in our sprint speed multiplier. Finally, we're going to increase his duration and efficiency a little using Narrow-Minded and Streamline. This is just so that we don't have to keep recasting his abilities as often. I did the exact same thing with Gauss, but one thing to note is that with Vault, this is actually pretty important because Vault speed actually gives a speed buff to all of his nearby allies as well. So we need to get his range as low as possible. Otherwise, our Vault is actually just going to be making our Gauss faster and faster each time if they're too close. So we can use Narrow-Minded to do this, but unfortunately the lowest we can go is 10 meters. So our Vault's final maximum speed comes to 66.81 meters per second. And you may have noticed that's actually faster than what we got for Gauss. All that's left to do is settle this once and for all with a good old-fashioned race. So this is the circuit that we're going to be doing. Got my friend here to help me out. He's running the Gauss build that I showed you. And yeah, without further ado, let's get this race started. And they're off. Both frames launch off the line with a roar, but it's Gauss who gets the jump. Blistering acceleration up the mark. He's already edging ahead into the first corner. That's pure aggression. Vault's not letting him go though. He's hugging the inside line like his life depends on it. And he's made it past. It seems like Vault only gets faster and faster, but Gauss isn't done yet. He's riding his tail. Will we see a second overtake here on the Fortuna circuit tonight? Ladies and gentlemen, that won't be tonight, as Vault has just flew across the finish line. What an absolutely invigorating race. And we have a winner. Vault took the lead in the end and finished the course first. We have a new king. All that's left to do is the crowning ceremony. What's that? The results are inconclusive? What do you mean? Clearly Vault finished first. Well, yes and no. When we put the two in a 100-meter sprint, Gauss actually wins. Even though we've modded our Vault to have higher maximum speed than the Gauss, there is an effect of Mach Rush that we haven't considered yet. Launch. When Gauss uses Mach Rush, his sprint speed instantly gets increased, but he also receives an initial burst of speed. This burst is actually crucial, especially since on the other hand, we have Vault, who actually has to accelerate to his max speed over time. This means that while Vault is gradually building up speed, Gauss gains so much distance that he still wins. But Vault did win the race, which had turns, and if we think in terms of longer distance, eventually Vault will catch up to Gauss without a doubt. So the question becomes, how much? At what point does Vault catch up and win? There's some number where Gauss wins at distances below and Vault wins at distances above. So we tested it, and that number turns out to be just around 450 meters. So ultimately, Vault wins when there are twists and turns, but he also wins in straight line speed for any distance greater than 450 meters. I believe I've proved that Vault truly is the speed king of Warframe, but Gauss isn't too bad either. They're really two sides of the same coin. Vault's prowess in 450 meters plus and his handling for turns is definitely superior, but the instant burst of speed that Gauss can unleash is still pretty impressive, and so a compromise must be made. There shall be two kings, a dual ruling system where both Vault and Gauss look down on all the other frames who can't run as fast as them. A partnership of the old and the new, the dedicated master and the genius student. Truly, the kings of unbeatable speed. Quick disclaimer before y'all grill me in the comments. I'm aware that this isn't the fastest that either of these frames can technically go. I have built both of those frames where they literally go as fast as I believe is possible, using many processes and techniques, but I've banned the use of those items and techniques that require a process. For example, I don't use Arcane Phantasm in these builds because, well, it's kind of a lengthy process, like having to block an enemy's attack to gain a chance to receive the bonus, and then trying to race with that as well. It's just too many variables. I mean, just think about it. Once that buff runs out, you'll have to stop to reapply it, meaning ultimately your velocity from start to finish will be worse. So did you like this video? Kind of a random one, but I've been obsessed with running fast using Vault forever. So let me know in the comments if you want more of this style of content. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Bye. Dual?